At the edge of sunlight, a shape begins to fall, hundreds of tons of water close above it. The depth counter climbs, 200 meters, 500, 1,000, but a fall is only one possible ending for a dead whale. Some bodies never come this way. If this one reaches the deep seafloor, the descent does not end the story. It starts a transfer. Flesh, sediment, bone, bacteria, and time will build different communities around the same remains. The banquet may last years, sometimes decades. 50 years is a possibility, not a clock. Far below the sunlit ocean, plants cannot photosynthesize. Much of the food arrives from above, sinking cells, mucus, fecal pellets, fragments of animals, and other particles called marine snow. Currents also move organic matter sideways. The deep floor is not empty. It is alive under a limited and uneven energy budget. That is why the scale of one carcass matters. In a published estimate for a 30-ton great whale, the soft tissue contained about 1.2 million grams of labile organic carbon. Against the normal flux to the 100 square meters beneath it, that was at least 1,000 years of background supply. This is a bounded comparison, not a universal law. It refers to soft tissue carbon in that model, not to the bones alone. Not every whale that dies becomes a deep whale fall. Buoyancy depends on lungs, blubber, body condition, water, and what happens after death. A carcass may float and bloat. Wind and current may carry it. It may be scavenged near the surface, drift ashore, or strand before its dense parts ever reach deep water. Other carcasses are negatively buoyant and sink. A body that descends into cold, high-pressure water may not generate enough expanding gas to rise again. Pressure compresses gas, while low temperature can slow decomposition. Deep water therefore changes whether a sunken body can refloat. Even then, there is no single route or speed. Species, size, decomposition, scavenging, and local oceanography change the journey. Our film follows one scientifically possible path. An intact large carcass reaches a food-limited deep floor. Chemical traces spread before the body has become a skeleton. Depending on region and depth, mobile scavengers may include sleeper sharks, hagfish, rattails, crabs, and amphipods. No species owns the first visit. A Greenland shark is not the universal herald. The cast is local, and authentic observations must decide what we name on screen. Large scavengers tear away soft tissue. Smaller animals work along exposed edges, wounds, and openings. Amphipods can gather in dense numbers. This is often called the mobile scavenger stage, but even here a stage is a label for a dominant process, not a clean chapter boundary. Microbes and sediment opportunists have already begun their work. The visible feeding can be rapid, but its speed is not universal. A large carcass may lose most soft tissue in months. Local temperature, oxygen, access, and scavenger density change that rate. More important, the consumers do not erase the whale. They redistribute it. Fragments, dissolved compounds, and waste move outward and downward into the seafloor. Around the carcass, sediment chemistry changes. Organic particles are buried. Microbial respiration consumes oxygen. Patches can become chemically reduced. Opportunistic worms and crustaceans multiply where food has accumulated. This enrichment opportunist stage is the part of the whale fall that a wide shot can miss, because much of the new habitat lies beneath and around the body. At one implanted 30-ton grey whale fall, researchers tracked enriched sediments for 7 years. The result is not a timetable for every ocean. It is evidence that the footprint can outlast the obvious feeding frenzy. The whale has become a gradient, richest near the remains, changing over meters, and shifting as microbes and animals process the supply. Eventually, the carcass looks quieter. Much of the flesh is gone, yet the exposed skeleton is not empty architecture. Great whale bones can retain large stores of lipid and protein. They are food, shelter, and hard surface at once. Now an animal with no mouth and no gut begins to alter the bone itself. Osedax is an annelid, a relative of segmented worms, but the adult female looks more like a small flower rooted in bone. Feathery palps extend into seawater for gas exchange. Below them, branching tissues penetrate the skeleton. In many species, microscopic dwarf males live inside the female's tube. That pattern has exceptions, so it is not a rule for every Osedax. The roots do not drill with teeth. Their cells carry proton pumps and carbonic anhydrase. Together, these support a highly local acid secretion mechanism that dissolves the mineral matrix of bone. Think of demineralization at a living surface, not a pool of corrosive liquid. Opening that mineral structure makes trapped organic compounds accessible across the root tissue. Inside the roots are bacterial partners, often from the oceanospirillels. They are heterotrophs. They use existing organic compounds. Genomes and tracer experiments indicate the use of bone-derived nutrients, including products associated with collagen. The worm and its symbionts form a nutritional partnership. But this is not sulfur-based chemosynthesis, and the bacteria do not manufacture organic carbon from sulfide. That separation matters. Osedax helps open and consume bone. A different microbial network creates the sulfide-rich habitat around and within the remains. Both processes can occur in the same skeleton, and each can affect how long it persists. They must not be drawn as one reaction. In oxygen-poor pockets of sediment and bone, microbes degrade whale-derived organic matter without oxygen. Sulfate-reducing microbes use sulfate while processing that material, producing sulfide. Methane can also be produced in enriched sediments. At one whale fall studied after 6 to 7 years, the strongest measured sulfate reduction occurred close to the carcass, and sediments supplied far more sulfide than the measured bones. Sulfide is toxic to many organisms, but it is also an energy source. Sulfur-oxidizing bacteria use reduced sulfur compounds and build biomass. Grazers can feed on microbial mats. Some clams and mussels carry sulfur-oxidizing symbionts inside their tissues. This is the sulfophilic stage, not life feeding on sunlight and not life feeding directly on flesh, but life organized around chemical imbalance. Whale falls therefore resemble vents and seeps in limited, important ways. They can host sulfide-dependent lineages, and some taxa occur across more than one chemosynthetic habitat. Researchers have proposed that scattered falls act as stepping stones for some species. That does not make a whale fall a miniature hydrothermal vent, and it does not mean that every resident is a specialist. So how long does the banquet last? The honest answer depends on what we measure. Soft tissue can disappear in months. Enriched sediment can remain active for years. In 6 Monterey Canyon falls, skeletons degraded within a decade. Elsewhere, sulfide-supported and hard-substrate communities can persist for years to decades. Carcass size, age, bone mineralization, lipid reserves, depth, temperature, oxygen, sediment, scavengers, and Osedax all change the result. Stages overlap. Some become brief. Some are never clearly observed. 4 stages are a map, not a law. When much of the chemical fuel is gone, surviving bone can still provide hard substrate for sponges, anemones, and other attached life. This is often called the reef stage. Its duration is uncertain, so the title's 50 years marks a conditional possibility worth testing, never a stopwatch every whale must obey. In June 2026, Nature reported whale remains across 1,200 kilometers of the Diamantina zone, 4,616 to 7,001 meters deep. Researchers recorded 476 fossil cetacean remains and 5 active sulfophilic whale fall communities. A separate reporting unit lists 485 sites or assemblages. The deepest active fall lay at 6,789 meters. The oldest bone records an ancient event, not a 5 million year meal. The proposed corridor remains a hypothesis. A living whale takes energy from the ocean. In death, one may return it to the deep if its body reaches the floor.